You're listening to A.M Beaver County on 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA. Presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live at beavercountyradio.com.
And we're back on this Tuesday morning edition of A.M Beaver County. And joining me right now is the mayor of the city of Beaver Falls, Kenya Johns. Kenya, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, everybody.
So let's start with the question you asked us when you came, and I'll ask you, how was your 4th of July?
Well, thank you for asking. My 4th of July was good. We were, real quiet and peaceful, spent some time with family, so that was great. Got to see a lot of the great fireworks show we were having here in the city, so I appreciate that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And let's talk a little bit about the city, because I know it's been a while since we've talked, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in the city since then, particularly the car cruise, which went off fantastically.
Yes.
I was just coming back from vacation that day, so I didn't quite get there. But from what I saw and what I heard, it was just a fantastic day for the city through and through.
Matt, you keep missing all the great events in the city.
I
We're gonna
know.
have to work on that.
I know. I know. I'm on a bit of a cold streak right now. I'm trying to get that back into swing. But there are some other great events coming up in the city over the course of the summer. One of them, which I saw it on your Facebook page. It's going to be sponsored by the Beaver County Chamber of Commerce, and it's a very interesting one. I don't think there's ever been one in Beaver Falls before, at least on this level. We talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a bourbon. The business district and Beaver County Chamber are working together, and they're having a bourbon tasting in our city, and I think that's really exciting. It's with Jan Jume's financials, and it's with Hutchin Home, and it's just exciting to see all of these businesses work together, and the business district's doing great things on top of having the bourbon tasting, which I'm excited for. I'm excited to see people coming out and engaging with one another.
Yes.
On August 20th, we're also having like a sidewalk sale day. Hot Rods on the other end of town is also having a car cruise. We have a lot of great things going on in the city. So it's going to be a great day here and a great summer. And we have some other things we're trying to work out. And when we do, I'll make sure I let you know.
Okay, very good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. And I think it's going to be, because it is nice to know that, I mean, obviously, like you said, the Beaver Falls Business District Authority is doing great things, but this is an event for the chamber. So this is the entire county gathering, and to have Beaver Falls sort of be the home field for that, it does, present a great opportunity to connect with other people and other citizens throughout the county. And on top of that, you mentioned the other events that are going on. And I know that a lot of times in the summertime, things get a little crazy and things get a little bit more, heavily populated, and it seems like traffic tends to just change their rules completely. But but at the same time, to see that the organized events are still happening and still being maintained is a good thing to hear about.
Well, thank you. And it's really important. We have really great hands in the city, and like you said, I'm really excited for the chamber event as well, and all of the events, because Beaver Falls is that place where we really believe in community and unity, and we really want everyone else to start to see that. We're really wanting people to see who we really are. Not who people want us to be, but who we really are, despite all of the negative stigma that might have been present in our city. This is who we truly are, and we're just trying to show people that.
And I think, too, when it comes to that, because you mentioned this aura of, what people want you to be or what people expect, I think part of that is the fact that, while it's not just a matter of, holding these events and showcasing this is what we truly are, I think it's also a matter of sort of being that work in progress, because it's not necessarily, the city of Atlantis yet. It's, it's going to be a while before it is. And that's fine.
We never go underground. So,
well, that's a good point. You're on your game today. I appreciate that.
I'll try my best.
But, all seriousness, it's not quite utopia, but it's working towards that progress. It's working to be better. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And something that, is talked about enough is that a lot of these cities and a lot of these boroughs, they're improving, even though they haven't got their goal yet. Their goal is to be better on a regular basis. And, if you're at your best, great. But if not, you're at least working towards that betterness.
Exactly. And the perfectionist in me thinks that we're always going to be striving and working on something.
Hmm.
So, even when we tackle some great things, and we're going to tackle some great things for sure, there's going to be other things that wind up or emerge, or areas that we have slacked in to work on these other strong areas. So I completely hear you, but just know that we're always going to be a work in progress, but we're always going to be making progress.
Yes, that's exactly the way it's got to be too. Now, in that regard, and it's crazy to think too that officially you've been, the mayor for a little over half a year now, and so we're coming close to that 1 year mark. How's the relationship with the rest of the city been? Because I know, again, talking about the work in progress, we've heard about the home rule charter, and that's been a bit of a slow transition. And when I say slow transition, I'm not necessarily meaning for the uppers, but more so for the society as a whole, that, it hasn't really caught on as far as like, oh, this is a different thing now. It's a brand new thing. It's just sort of a thing. But aside from that, how has the relationship with everybody else been so far?
Things have been great. And I say that I'll knock on wood.
Yeah, or
But-
knock on laminate, whatever.
Right,
it's there.
something close.
Yeah.
But things have been great. I came into this role with great people, and that has been fantastic. City representation that was open to working with us, and us working and developing together. And honestly, I came in not expecting things to be perfect, and even though things might not be perfect, I still think that's great, because we are making progress. We are working together. We are learning the differences of each other. We're learning how to build on those, use all those different great ideas, and come up with great plans to do things that I would never think about, or they might never think about. Like and that's why there's so much value in differences and working together with different people, because our brains just work differently. So I think things are going really good. I'm glad the citizens are asking critical questions. They're showing up, being attentive. For some people, like, well, that's a lot, and I'm like, that's what we need. That's good civic engagement. That's what a city needs, or government needs. It needs to hear the voices constantly, needs people to be present when they're making decisions. So we constantly realize that we're public servants, and we're here to serve, and we got to make sure we're serving people for what is best for them.
We're talking with Mayor Kenya Johns from Beaver Falls. And Kenya, what are some of those? You mentioned critical questions. What are some of those critical questions that the citizens have been asking over the course of the last few months?
The same critical questions. What are we doing about blight? Are we going to change parking? I'm going to answer that question on radio now. No, we're not changing parking.
Well, there it is. You put it down in writing. It's not changing.
It's not changing. But things like that. Like, what are our goals? Like with the park, how are we going to? What are we doing to upkeep that? Like, so there's things like the streets. Like, what are we doing to maintain these things? And those are questions that we should be asking. If you live in this city or any city in the county, you should be asking these questions. What are we doing to make the city better? We need to ask these questions.
Right.
It's our responsibility.
It is because, as nice as it would be to, sort of live in a world where, the leaders took care of everything and we just could sort of coast on, good vibes. It's not like that. It's a matter of, hey, if you want something to be better, it doesn't hurt to ask. In fact, it's a very good idea to ask about what those things happen, and whether it is something as paltry as the parking situation, which,
Is not changing.
It's not changing. And, I feel sympathy for that you have to keep answering that question, some 2 years into the whole thing. But on top of that, it shows that the citizens are being engaged, and they are, sort of coming forward with, questions, or have there been any ideas that they've had coming forward?
Yeah, there's been lots of great ideas, but I don't mind them asking those questions. I want them to ask the questions. So when you have an answer like, hey, parking's not changing, it's not just like, well, parking's not changing. No, parking isn't changing, and here's why. Because if we look at the statistics and data, it's a lot safer. I remember pulling out on 7th Avenue and praying every time. Like,
Yeah.
am I going to make it? So it's things like that. It's safer. And, you go to other cities and towns. Austin, they have reverse parking. Kentucky, they have reverse parking. Like, these are a lot of things that are going on around the country that is innovative here for us to do. And I understand that anxiety and that change is slow to happen, and it can be frustrating. So I want them to continue to ask that question so I can inform them why this isn't happening and why it's the better decision for you and not just for the city while we're doing this.
Right. And on top of that, too, and something we've talked about in the past before, Beaver Falls is not just 7th Avenue. It's not just where all the reverse parking is. So if people are going to have enough of a bug about that to say, well, I'm not going to park here, I'm not going to, waste of time, get a couple minutes earlier, walk through the rest of town, see some of the places you may not have seen before, some of the changes that have been made, and go from there.
Yeah. And then we have a whole side of the street that doesn't have reverse parking.
That's also true. That's also true.
So we have options here.
We have plenty of options and plenty of ways to engage. Now, you mentioned some of the events that are coming up. What's some of the bigger focuses? Like, I know stuff like the car cruise, that's projects that are like months in the making. Are there any projects like that going on right now where it's sort of, for further down the line that the city's working on?
Yeah, for sure. As you know, we have a fantastic new community development director, Rochelle Burks, and just the insight she has with our citizens all throughout the city, which is what we talked about is really important. And like her ideas, they're fantastic. Like she's an innovator and she's a collaborator. So like she's listening to the citizens, she's listening in on all these meetings and talking with people from diverse backgrounds. And she's, has some things that she's working on trying to develop. I told you early on when I first came, until I know set in stone things are going to happen, I'm not going to tell you specific details. But there are some things that I think the citizens are going to be happy about that she's working on. And when we have those confirmed and concrete, I will be more than happy to come back on and talk about those. But the sidewalk sale is a huge one that we're working on right now. And I'm very confident on that with the business district and Hot Rod on the other end of town having an opportunity on the same day. I'm really excited for those type of things to emerge in our city.
So those events are going to happen on the same day, the sidewalk sale and the Hot Rod car cruise. Well, what day is that? Or is that
August 20th?
August 20th. Okay. All right. I'll have to try to mark that down so I can end that cold streak once and for all.
Matt, no more vacations.
No
I
more
gave you dates in months, so now you know.
I do know for sure. So is there anything else that we haven't cracked through this morning that's of adamant importance this morning that you want to talk about?
It's Unity Week in Beaver County. I think
okay.
That's really important for us to talk about.
Yeah.
It was put on by Becklek and IDAC. And Sean Owens is the chair of both of those. And it's just an important conversation and message for our county and for our city. And when we see the things that we're doing in like Beaver Falls, that is done by unity and us working together and collaborating. And it's so important that as we really want to see change in Beaver County, because we need change in Beaver County. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality. We have to start unifying with our neighbors and the people down the street and our citizens that live across the bridge. Like, we really do have to work on doing that, because when we're all working together, it's better for everybody.
It is. And I think, too, looping back to what we were talking about at the start, it's not just a matter of, trying to, gather all in one night and say, okay, we're unified. Mm-hmm. No, it's a process. And I think to embrace that process, to embrace that level of, this is what we're doing, this is who we are, it takes steps, it takes, little seedlings, you're not just going to be able to plant a tree overnight. It's a matter of, gatherings like this and acknowledgments like this, like a Unity Week, it's one part of the major process to unify Beaver County and to break any barriers that there may be.
Yeah, for sure. And you said it's spot on. It's a process. And we have to start becoming comfortable with sometimes processes don't go as we plan, but there's method to the madness.
Exactly.
Be steadfast and continue.
Yeah, you have to keep going and be persistent, because otherwise it's you're going to stop and everything's going to keep going in front of you.
Yeah.
So, well, Mayor, I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with us. And again, we'll catch up once again whenever there are new events coming up. Maybe right before the sidewalk sale to sort of do some finer details on it. Maybe we'll reach out to Business District Authority, but at least the plans are set in motion. So
yeah, and like I said, I'm really appreciative to all the citizens in the city. All the people that have really taken on that ownership of our city, like the business district, smaller groups and organizations that are really coming to really want to make change and work together, because that's really important, Matt. Like, we really have to, when we're making plans for our city, we have to take everyone in consideration. And I know it's hard and it is a challenge, but it's definitely worth it. And I think the outcomes say that.
I agree. And hopefully that outcome continues to be positive and gradual throughout the course of the next few months, years, however long it takes. So, Mayor, thank you so much for coming on this morning and talking with us. And blessings to you throughout this Unity Week and throughout the rest of the summer.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's Mayor Kenya Johns here on A.M. Beaver County. It's currently 8:26, and news just on the way in just a few minutes.
It started with a road trip into the American Midwest.